For Earth's little Urkin, standing on this very bridge over this very creek was a sensitive task, especially in broad daylight, the same time of day as when he was under this water, submerged under any earth water for the first time almost 4 years ago. Hopefully it would stay the only time. Zim did what he could to face his elevated fear of water. He stared down his reflection just like he had after the day he returned to Earth 1 week ago. With every time he visited this spot, however, to his frustration, it got harder instead of easier. But Zim was not one to give up easily. He would stare until he wasn't afraid anymore. The water was calm, mockingly calm, maintaining an innocent and peaceful demeanor, while it threatened to swallow and kill any non-aquatic life forms clumsy enough to get too close. To Zim, it seemed even sentient, and it knew he was there, remembering his last encounter with it. It was inviting him, daring him, demanding him to come back. It remembered the taste of him, and it missed him. It was waiting for the opportunity to steal him away, forever this time. Zim grimaced, gripping the railing of the bridge, and fighting back a fit of anxiety and embarrassment. His eye twitched. How could Earth expect him to protect it if he was this sensitive to one of life's main elements? He could not blame himself entirely for being afraid. After all, Earth water burned Urkins like acid, like many other Earth fluids. It was because Earth was tainted, more tainted than the humans realized, filled with used, discarded chemicals and trash, filled with untamed foreign filth and germs. Something else Zim always had a fear for. But this level of fear was different. This was pure trauma. Letting himself fall in that river poisonous to Urkins had been a mistake. Every time Zim saw flowing or bubbling water now, even if it was Urk's clean water, he became paralyzed, trapped in his own 1,000-yard stare, hypnotized by the trickling, never-ending clear and white waves. Something suddenly joined them, drifting out from under the bridge. Zim blinked, releasing the little breath he had been clinging to. A slice of white bread, flat in the water, and somehow sitting upon it, a half-fledged mourning dove. Zim observed the unexpected sight before him. He watched the dark and tan bird look around for an escape, chirping anxiously, with occasional flaps of its wings.
"What are you doing there?"
Zim asked. He walked off the bridge, then along the side of the river to follow the floating feathered creature. The dove gave him a quick glance, then continued to chirp at the water it was avoiding.
"Ew, you are a flying earth creature."
Zim pointed at an airborne hawk in the distance.
"Fly like your people. Fly, you tiny thing!"
His expression softened at his own choice of words. He recited a quote from another dark memory.
"You're a tiny thing."
He raised a fist to his chin in thought and empathy.
"You struggle to stay afloat on that soggy slice of bread, after Zim struggled to stay afloat on his soggy slice of bread. And you are small, like Zim."
The bread, soggy like Zim had mentioned, was sinking under the weight of the bird that began to thrash its wings around hysterically. Zim continued to follow, offering the bird some flimsy encouragement.
"You matter! If you think about giving up, fight it! You must live as long as you can. So you, fly! I mean swim! Swim! Live!"
The weakened bread fell apart, and the little bird dropped underwater in just an instant, and it was gone. With the goodness he was originally born with, and with his fear put aside for the moment, Zim immediately jumped in for the little bird. Without much of a choice, Dib made it part of his after-school routine to look over his shoulder on his way out. If he saw any sign that he was about to be confronted or ambushed by one of the easily offended boys giving him death glares a few classes ago, or by anyone else who might have still had issues with him, he would start running. After making it out of the front doors with everyone else, he cautiously turned to inspect the crowd during the next 10 steps. With a sharp gasp, he bumped into someone in his path behind him, someone who would have been in front of him if he hadn't walked backwards. He was startled at first, automatically assuming for a second that it was a classmate. But whoever this was felt to have the height of a smaller person, only as tall as his chest. Dib staggered and fought back for his balance so he wouldn't fall over the poor child. He quickly turned back around with a hand out, ready to apologize. Sorry.
Oh!
Not a child, but it sure sounded like one, having uttered a squeak of pain when walked into. Zim stood on legs that shivered every few seconds. His entire body was soaked and steaming. Cupped in his hands was a petrified baby dove, also wet.
What do I do with this?
Zim asked. The somewhat annoyed croak in his voice, and the very sight of him perfectly described the nature of whatever trouble he had just gone through. Inconvenient, ridiculous, but had to be taken care of.
Whoa! Oh God!
Zita was suddenly not far. She weaved around a few of her classmates, including her own friend, then jogged over to her alien friend. She cringed in imagined pain with her hand out.
Zim? Dude, are you okay? A bird?
She perked an eyebrow.
I think it may be defective,
Zim said. Defective? Dib echoed. Zim looked up at him and Zita, holding out the softly chirping bird that had all of their attention.
Yes! Look, it doesn't fly. It couldn't even do it to save its life. I had to be the one to save it from sinking to its doom. It just kept floating on bread. It was embarrassing.
Zita chortled.
Saving a baby bird? Embarrassing? You get respect for that kind of thing. Especially when water hurts you. Embarrassing for it,
Zim clarified.
In my time of being here, I've never seen a flightless bird.
Well, there's penguins, ostriches, and chickens, Dib commented, holding up one counting finger for each species.
Oh, right. I've seen the chicken creature. But this is no chicken, Dib. Is it?
Zim furrowed his brow at the bird, using his thumb to prop its beak up for a better look at the face. Zita leaned in to get a better look herself, drawing her hand close.
He has his feathers, but he's still a little young. He should be able to fly soon, though.
Zim cocked his head to the side.
You said baby. The bird babies are flightless? This is natural?
Yeah.
How come I've never seen these birds in their early development stages like this? They stay in the trees, in little nests. They are pretty hard to see. Unless you climb the tree or something, or unless the babies fall out. That's probably what happened to this little guy. So he isn't defective.
No, he's just down on his luck.
Very well. Zim will find this nest.
Actually, well, didn't you find him floating down the river? Dib doubtfully said. You don't really know where he came from, or where his parents are.
Could you hold it?
Zim handed the dove over to Zita, who kindly accepted. Delicately and properly this time, Zim disconnected his pack, slightly alarming both Dib and Zita. Before they could question him, Zim shook the pack and batted it with his palm to clear the sockets from excess water that had been trapped inside when he used the legs to climb out of the river. Watching uncomfortably with rounded eyes, Zita remembered the last time she saw a packless Zim. He looks like he's close to the age where birds leave the nest anyway, Dib commented with a casual shrug of one arm. Relieved to see Zim place his pack back on right away, Zita gave him back the dove.
Yeah, I bet if someone takes him in and lets him practice flying around, he would be ready to go within a few days, maybe.
Zim stared closely at the bird in childlike wonder. Then he raised it above his head, strongly announcing with a grin,
I shall call him Tiny!
Zim kept his feathered companion cradled in one hand. With the other, he opened the door to his formerly secret base. He was pleased to see Gur still cleaning the place from the filth that had collected from the few years of inactivity. Of course, Gur made sure to have fun with his task. The base had become his skating rink as he slipped and slid across the floors with soapy rags underneath his feet. Mid-slide, he jumped off the rags with a backflip, and with his tongue peeking through his smile, he switched his attention to his Irken master. Zim stepped in and shut the door.
Gur, this is Tiny. I found him floating on bread.
Ooh, Gur marveled.
Perhaps he can be of service. He is no mini-moose, but humans like to keep earth animals as pets all the time. That means something, right? What do earth animals do for their human masters?
Walk around with a big string on their neck and throw balls and make a dookie in our yard.
Dogs, yes. But we do not see many bird pets. Perhaps they blend in too well with the wild birds. Maybe they're messengers, and the messages are code. They must be code. We hear them repeat very specific patterns of tweety noises all the time. We've been fools, Gur. We underestimated the ways of the earth creatures.
During his epiphany, Zim's eyes rounded with fascination. He carefully placed Tiny on the kitchen table and respectfully took a step back. He raised a hand with his fingers curled dramatically.
Teach me, Tiny! Tell Zim how to decode the mysterious messages of your feathered people.
Tiny only sat, blank-faced, and trembling clumsily from his own weight. Zim frowned and relaxed his arm.
Ah, of course. You must not know yourself. How can you do something as advanced as speaking in code if you can't do something as basic as flying?
He looks like a fluffy chicken nugget.
Gur admired, watching the little dove take a few steps.
This is no chicken, Gur. It is a... Whatever. Zim will make sure Tiny's transformation is amazing. Maybe he needs some technical adjustments. Ooh! It would benefit us as much as him.
Huh?
Think of it, Gur. I can take this weakling and alter him overnight. He'll fly, and he'll have his own code that no other spy birds would recognize. I could even make him understand and translate other noises. Yes, this is a brilliant idea. If Earth is our planet, then we may as well have an Earth member in the team. He will help speed up our process for sure. Now we won't fall behind everyone else.
Gur squinted one eye.
We ain't racing, are we?
It's not racing, it's keeping up.
Zim eagerly hissed, pacing.
This is important, Gur. If I keep up with the other former invaders, I won't look like a fool like before. And I won't make the rectification a failure like I made everything else a failure. I need to carry out this mission not only for myself, but for Empress Sis. She trusts me as a worthy soldier, and she tells everyone else to trust me. I don't want her to be wrong about me. I cannot humiliate her or us. I need to find a way to help this planet and honor the positive reputation of the Irken race. And I won't call the Empress until I know exactly what I'm doing. It won't be sitting in a toilet for 15 years.
We wasn't in there for 15 years.
It felt like it. I was thinking in the park today, and I got an idea. Something that will bring forth something like a meteor shower and give us an opportunity to finally save Earth with everyone watching. What would you say about fiery space rocks, Gur?
Gur hummed doubtfully. He pointed.
Fiery space rocks are fun, but you got a bird.
Zim stopped pacing. He once again looked closely at the baby mourning dove in his care.
I do got a bird. You're right, Gur. He is the focus right now. I shall begin the alterations.
Aw, but I like him like this.
Gur squeaked, touching Tiny's left wing.
But he would be better. He would be capable of everything he's meant to do. He wouldn't have to wait.
Waiting is fun.
Why would you think...
Zim faltered and pondered his sir's feedback. He calmly sat down in a kitchen chair.
Waiting has value. We need waiting time. That's time to train ourselves, to make thorough decisions, to mature.
Zim blinked in mild horror.
I almost ruined Tiny. No, I mustn't corrupt his natural Earth form. That would hurt things. Part of the mission is to respect the planet with no Irken manipulation. I shall have faith that Tiny will become something special himself, at his own growing speed.
Zim sat up straight, slowly gasping.
Like Zim. The mission can still be successful no matter how long it takes, and I can still be productive no matter how small I start.
He looked at his new bird friend and scooped him back into his hands.
Zita says my rescue was respectable. Gur, I've already started today. This is step 1.
He stood up and held out Tiny in excitement.
I've saved a life without even thinking about it. This counts. Small never stopped Zim in any way before. Why would it now?
Gur smiled warmly and locked his claws together.
My master's all grown up.
Zim brought Tiny to eye level and stared at the precious side of him.
Thank you, Gur, but I'm not so sure of that yet. With luck, I will learn how to better handle my fierce ambitions.
His antennae drooped in remorse.
Oh my god. Empress Sis would have been horrified. Purposefully creating a threat against Earth myself. That can't be right. I have a feeling that was one of the ideas conceived by the stupid in my code fried pack. Curse you, Marbog.
Zim glared as he looked away and whispered. Tiny cooed at him, catching his attention again. Zim delicately cupped a hand over the bird's back and right side.
Challenges will come to me on their own. This bird appeared right in front of me, just seconds from death, with no one else around. That was fate, wasn't it? I was meant to rescue this creature.
He smiled, so sure that he could handle the full responsibility of something so simple and tiny. Right after school, Zita had dozed off on her living room couch, barely able to stay awake past the start of a movie she had playing right in front of her. She awoke mid-snore. She registered only the sound of a thump, but didn't know where it came from. A series of thumps followed, and Zita realized it was someone knocking at her front door. Groggily, she snorted, stretched, then rocked to her feet. She approached the door, then hesitated, the darkness in the room making her wonder what time it was. Answering the door was more likely to be a mistake if it was at a frighteningly late hour. Zita stood on her toes and looked through the peephole. She saw Erkind and Syrian at antennae. She blinked in recognition and curiosity, then opened the door. As expected, she saw Zim and Gur standing on her porch. Zim was cradling the dove again, but this time with a napkin. His expression was similar to the one he had after he saved the dove and met with Dib and Zita, but the pain was replaced with disgust. Zita quickly noticed why.
Are you sure Tiny isn't defective?
Zim asked, once again in a croak.
Or were raspberries and corn not valid things to feed him? I was sure his bird body would be compatible.
Because of the funny sight before her, and because she was freshly woken up, Zita was stupefied. Zim pointed to the black and white mess that was smeared from the top of his head down to his right eye, which he kept shut, for protection and for cringing.
This, on my face. This duty. It's strange.
Zita brought a fist to her teeth and was unable to restrain her incoming fit of giggles. Gur too began to giggle. Zim pouted when the laughter from both of the two became hysterical.
Zim requires your assistance, not your noises of amusement.